Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Asutosh Rai. I did PhD in biochemistry from Banaras Hindu University and I am working in Indian Institute of Vegetable Research, Varanasi. Today we are going to talk on module Generalized Cloning Scheme and Strategies under the paper Genetic Engineering and Recombinant DNA Technology. After completing this module, we should able to understand first why to clone a DNA fragment, what are the recombinant DNA technology tools, and how to create a gene of interest. Origin of replication. The initiation of DNA replication does not occur at any random site around the genome, but rather it initiates at the specific point called as origin of replication. Once the DNA synthesis has been initiated, two replication forks extend either direction from origin of replication. Proceed allowed a full replication of genome. Bacteria such as E. coli have a single origin of replication known as origin C, ORIC. In eukaryotic cells, on the other hand, have many multiple origin of replication which are different from origin of replication of a bacterium. The East Saccharomyces cerevisiae has estimated having more than 300 origin of replication, while in human cells they utilize more than 20,000 origin of replications during the replication of genome. ORIC is a 245 base pair DNA sequence that acts as a binding site for a number of proteins, namely DNA A, DNA B, and DNA C. The binding of these proteins promotes the melting or opening of DNA fragment or DNA helix, a process that essentially a part of DNA replication. At this part, the DNA replicating enzyme can read the base of sequence. Replication origins in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes probably serve the same overall function, but the replication of origins of prokaryotic cells will not substitute their eukaryotic counterparts and vice versa. As we all know that the biological functions are performed by various types of proteins found in different cells or tissues of an organism. These proteins are translated products of RNA. Different RNA species are transcribed from a number of genes in an orchestrated manner. It means that the expression of every protein depends on the information cloned in form of coded in form of genes. In every aspect of life, genes play an important role and are conserved in the form of genome present in nucleus. For example, if a bacterium have to survive in presence of an antibiotics, it should have an antibiotic resistant gene which can provide resistance toward antibiotic. Now the question arises that how we can decode the DNA sequence of a gene. The sequence of a gene can be decoded by sequencing that DNA. For the sequencing of a DNA segment, at least a sequencing primer should anneal and amplify that DNA. If there is no information available for a particular gene, cloning becomes primary tool to decode the gene. Molecular cloning is a process of creating recombinant DNA and generally involves following steps. First, the selection and preparation of foreign DNA to be cloned and the vector in which the DNA has to be cloned. Second, the selection of host organism. Third, creation of recombinant DNA vectors having foreign DNA. Introduction of recombinant vectors into the host organism. And last, the selection of clones having recombinant vectors. The schematic diagram presented here involving different molecular tools gives a basic idea about the whole process of cloning. Now, what are the cloning vectors? So, vectors is an autonomously replicating DNA molecule basically designed from a plasmid or phage DNA to carry a foreign DNA inside a host cell. In simple words, it can be summarized as the given points. Vectors are autonomously replicating DNA molecules that can be used to carry foreign DNA fragments. Vectors are naturally occurring DNA sequences modified to serve particular functions. Selection of a vector mainly depends on its capability to accommodate desired DNA molecule that have to be carried. And last, the different vectors have been developed for specific purposes including sequencing, expression of proteins, and expression of RNAs. A good cloning vector should have the following characteristics. It should autonomously replicating. That means that it should have a origin of replication that is called ORI. A vector should contain at least one selectable marker gene for antibiotic resistance, and it may contain a reporter gene that may be beta-galactosidase or green fluorescent protein, etc. Presence of unique restriction enzyme sites, that is called MCS region. This region is also known as multiple cloning sites, preferably small in size and easy to handle, or relax control of replication to obtain multiple copies of recombinant vector. Presence of appropriate regulatory mechanism for expression of foreign genes. The selection of a suitable vector system depends mainly on the size limit of insert DNA and the type of host intended for cloning or expression of foreign DNA. Allowing the exogenous DNA to be inserted, stored, and manipulated vectors can be classified into following points. Plasmid vectors. Plasmid vectors are basically designed for cloning of a small DNA fragment in a bacterial host. Examples are PUC18 and PUC19. The oldest plasmid vectors which have moderately used in labs, we can say PMB 322, etc. Phasmid vectors. Phasmids are single-stranded circular DNA which are widely used for sequencing purposes. Example is M13. Cosmids. Cosmids are hybrid vectors which have both the oris of bacterial origin and viral origins. The cos site present in cosmids enable them to packed into viral coat, and thus these can easily get absorbed by host bacterium. Now these are the artificial chromosomes capable to carry mega bases of DNA fragments. Bacterial artificial chromosomes, yeast artificial chromosomes, and human artificial chromosomes. Now cosmids, bacterial artificial chromosomes, yeast artificial chromosomes, and mammalian artificial chromosomes are known as high cloning capacity vectors having capability to accommodate huge size of DNA molecules. Restriction endonucleases. Bacterial restriction endonucleases are the restriction and modification systems. These have two components, restriction endonuclease and a DNA methylase. The restriction enzyme or restriction endonuclease cleaves DNA at a specific sequence. The term endonuclease applied to sequence specific nucleases that break DNA somewhere within the DNA molecule rather than ends of the molecule. Those enzymes which cut the DNA at the end of molecule or end of DNA molecule are known as exonucleases. The first restriction enzyme to be isolated was from E. coli K laboratory strain in 1968 by Messelson and Yan. These enzymes were able to cleave DNA, but the precise site of DNA cleavage remained unclear. Types of restriction endonucleases. There are three major classes of restriction endonucleases based on the types of sequences recognized and the nature of cut made in DNA. The enzyme structure can be divided into three categories. Type 1st restriction enzyme. These enzymes have both restriction and modification activities. Restriction depends upon the methylation status of the target DNA. Cleavage occurs at approximately 1000 base pair away from the recognition site. The recognition site is asymmetrical and it composed of two specific portions in which one portion contains 3 to 4 nucleotides while another portion contains 4 to 5 nucleotides, and both parts are separated by a non-specific spacer of about 6 to 8 nucleotides. Type 2 restriction enzymes. Restriction and modifications are mediated by separate enzymes, so it is possible to cleave DNA in the absence of modifications. Although the two enzymes recognize the same target sequence, they can be purified separately from each other. Cleavage of nucleotide sequence occurs at restriction site. These enzymes are used to recognize rotationally symmetrical sequences, which is often referred as palindromic sequence. They require only magnesium ion as a cofactor, and ATP is not needed for their activity. Type 2 endonucleases are widely used for mapping and reconstruction of DNA in vitro because they recognize a specific site and cleave just at the site. Type 3 restriction enzymes. These restriction enzymes recognize the methylate and the same DNA sequence but cleave 24 to 26 base pair away. They have two different subunits in which one subunit M is responsible for recognition and modification of DNA sequence and the other subunit R has nuclease activity. Magnesium ion and ATP are needed for DNA cleavage and process of cleavage is stimulated by SAM complex. Cleavage only occurs in one strand. Two recognition sites in opposite orientations are necessary to break the DNA duplex. This is the list of some restriction enzymes commonly used in labs. It has both type of restriction enzymes creating sticky end and blunt end fragments. Here the enzymes EcoR1, BAMH1, PST1, NOT1 and HIN3 produce sticky end fragments, while HIN2, SMA1, SCA1 and ALU1 and HPA1 are enzymes producing blunt ends. Nomenclature of restriction enzymes. Enzymes have the name reflect from their origin. The first letter of the name comes from the genus and it is written in capital letter. The second and third letters from a species where the enzyme has been isolated. The letters were by convention were written in italics, but recently this has changed so that they are now can be written in plain text. The numbers following the nucleases indicate the order in which the enzyme was isolated from a bacterial strain. The number is written as a Roman numeral. For example, PST1, BSE2 and EcoR1 like that. Ligases. DNA ligases are the enzymes that catalyze the formation of phosphodiester bonds between two DNA chains. The ligases were first discovered by two different groups of different scientists in same year of 1967. These scientists were Weiss and Richardson and Zimmerman. DNA ligase enzyme required a free hydroxyl group at 3' end and one DNA chain and a phosphate group at the 5' end of other DNA chain. The formation of a phosphodiester bond between these groups requires energy. In E. coli and other bacteria, NAD+ serves this role, whereas in animals and bacteriophage cells, the bacteriophages, the ATP drives the reaction of ligation. DNA ligase are only able to join DNA molecule that are part of double helix. They are unable to join two chains of single stranded DNA. The ligase enzyme from bacteriophage 4 T4 will ligate blunt end DNA fragments. These are some important enzymes and their respective functions which are commonly used in cloning processes, like enzyme alkaline phosphatase, DNase 1, EcoR1 exonuclease 3, reverse transcriptase, RNase-H, and T4 DNA polymerase, and Taq DNA polymerase and S1 nuclease. Their respective function has been shown in front of these enzymes. This table represents the common reporter gene markers which are used in day-to-day cloning activities. Like LAC-Z gene produces a beta-galactosidase of amino acid size 1024 base pairs. Its source was E. coli. The same gene from another E. coli was GUS-A. It also produces beta-galactosidase LUC, that is luciferase gene, and green fluorescent protein, NPT2, that is neomycin antibiotic resistant gene, and last is CAT, that is chloramphenicol acetyltransferase genes from E. coli T9 transposon. Host cell for cloning. Hosts are very important for cloning purposes because in which cloning system we are going to clone, it depends on the host bacterium, host bacterium or yeast or a cultured mammalian cell. According to need of replicating a recombinant vector, there is need of a host cell in which the recombinant vector can multiply to increase the number. A host can be bacteria, yeast, or in vitro cultured cell line of mammalian cells. The basic feature of host cell is that it should have it should be compatible with host cloning. It should be compatible with cloning vector in which we are going to clone our foreign DNA. Mutants of bacterial strain deficient in restriction enzyme system to reduce the likelihood of degradation of foreign DNA are needed. Examples are certain exonucleases, that is REC-BC, are mutated in E. coli host cells. E. coli is the best model host cell for plasmid vectors and many cosmids and phasmid vectors. In it, it is easy and inexpensive in growth medium. It can be grown in a minimal growth medium in any laboratory. The organism has a double time of a doubling time about 20 to 30 minutes during log phase of growth. Its genetics are well understood. Laboratory strains of E. coli are safe and contain mutants that do not allow them to escape from laboratory environment. It has fully mapped and sequenced genome. The whole genome sequence is available. Extra chromosomal copies of DNA, plasmid and bacteriophage DNA can be exploited to carry out foreign DNA fragments. Transformation. Bacterial transformation provided the first support that DNA is the genetic material of the bacteria. The genetic materials can be transferred from one bacterial strain and adding it to the second strain. The experiment was performed by Frederick in 1928. In 1944, the Avery, MacLeod, and McCarty proved that the transferring agent is DNA. Phage infection showed that the DNA is the genetic material of viruses. This experiment was done by Hersey and Marta Chase in 1952 in T2 phases. Transformation. A transformation process is a process in which the bacterial cell is modified by introduction of a foreign gene. It can be natural transformation or artificial transformation. In cloning process, we use artificial transformation methods. Basically, two methods are used. First, the bacterial cells are given heat shock or they are given electroporation or electrical shock. In both cases, the bacterial cell have to competent or permeable to accept that plasmid. which has to be introduced in the host cell. Depending on the transformation methods used, a plasmid can enter the cell through the holes or the pore in the bacterial cell wall created by salt vases or heat treatment or electroporation. Both methods allow efficient recovery of transformed cells using antibiotic selection from the plasmid of the interest. Chemical transformation of E. coli. For chemical transformation of a bacterial cell, following steps are used. First, to prepare a chemical competent cell. Second, to mix recombinant clones and provide heat shock. And third, to incubate the transformed bacteria in an appropriate culture media on Petri plate having antibiotics and reporter gene substrate. The whole process can be understood in following schematic graph. First, the host cells are grown to obtain mid-log phase, then the harvested and resuspended in a solution of calcium chloride and stored as on ice or in -20 degrees centigrade refrigerator. Next, the recombinant vector and competent cells are mixed and placed in ice for 5 minutes, subsequently subjected to a brief approx 30-second heat shock at 37 degrees centigrade to 45 degrees centigrade. Next step is the nutrient media is then added to the cells and allowed to grow on optimal temperature in an incubator shaker. Next step is to a small aliquot is taken to a plate in on appropriate LA plate having antibiotic and other substances substrated necessary for marker gene expression. For electrical transformation or electroporation, these steps are used. First, to prepare an electrocompetent cell having removal of almost all charged particles from the cell wall. Second, to mix recombinant clones and electrocompetent cells to provide a pulse of very high electrical current. Third, to incubate and transform bacteria in an appropriate culture medium on or Petri plate having antibiotics and reporter gene substrate. These steps can be understood from the following process diagram. Here, the host cells are grown to attain the mid-log phase, then they are harvested by centrifugation and washed for 2 to 3 times with 1% HEPS, that is HEPS solution, and followed by washing with 10% glycerol solution and are stored in ice or -20 degrees centigrade refrigerator. After that, the recombinant vectors and competent cells are mixed and placed on ice for 5 minutes, subsequently subjected to a high voltage of 1800 to 2500 volts for 1 millisecond in an instrument called electroporator. After a heat shock, a nutrient medium is then added to cells and allowed to grow on optimal temperature in an incubator shaker. In the last, the small amount of that cultured cells are taken to plate on a LA plate with an appropriate antibiotics and other substrates necessary for marker gene expression. Selection of recombinant clones. The antibiotic resistant markers and reporter genes present in the plasmid help us to select bacterial colonies having recombinant clones. On antibiotic Petri plates, only those bacteria can grow that have the plasmid having that antibiotic resistance gene. Here, the reporter gene helps to choose the recombinant clones having gene of interest. Insertional inactivation of LAGZ is used in many cloning vectors as a way of identifying recombinant clones. For blue-white selection to work, special host strains having inactivated beta-galactosidase genes are needed. Validation of recombinant clones. Validation of recombinant clones is a crucial process in cloning because many times incorporation of wrong fragments into the cloning vectors may lead to false results. To validate it, Many techniques like restriction digestion, PCR confirmation, and sequencing are employed. Validation of recombinant clones by the help of restriction digestion. The white colonies are picked with colony picker and cultured separately in culture tubes to amplify plasmids. The plasmids are isolated and digested by appropriate restriction enzymes followed by separation on agarose gel electrophoresis. After staining with ethidium bromide, we observe the DNA pattern under UV light and different size of DNA bands are observed. When we compare the size of empty vector with the size of recombinant vectors, we get the exact size of foreign DNA. This is the most robust method for validation. Validation of recombinant clones with the help of PCR. To amplify the insert by PCR, primers are designed on both sides or multiple cloning site region. After gel electrophoresis, the foreign DNA size can be known. The presence of fragment higher than vector region denotes the size of foreign DNA. Here in picture, we can see that different sizes of amplified products can denote the size of foreign DNA that has been cloned. Validation of recombinant clones with the help of sequencing. By means of flanking primers present in vector, we can sequence directly the recombinant clones to confirm the foreign DNA. After sequencing, with the help of various alignment tools, the sequence of foreign DNA can be obtained. The sequencing is the ultimate tool for decode a gene. Cloning have the best feature that the unknown DNA can also be sequenced by means of flanking PCR primers or sequencing primers. Here we can see the electrophoregram of a sequencer denoting the different base pairs of DNA which has been cloned. We have learned about gene of interest, restriction endonucleases, ligases, various features of vectors, transformation process and validation of cloning by restriction digestion, PCR and sequencing. Thank you.